Our guest today is a piano player who I have spoken with before on the Rhythm Changes podcast, but a lot has happened since that time. Over 3 years ago, she was Juno nominated at the Juno Awards of 2024 for Jazz Album of the Year solo for the album we talked about at that time. She has a new album that's out now, Can You Hear the Birds? It is, I believe, her fourth album. She's playing at the Toronto Jazz Fest on June 24th, and there's a Canadian tour in the fall to be announced later. So in BC, we may have a chance to hear her at that time. This new album features Levi Dover on bass, Mark Nelson on drums, and it's Gentiane MG. So Gentiane, it's great to see you again.
Great to see you again. Yeah. Thanks for having me. So
yeah, my gosh. Already it was September 2022. I looked back when we talked, so a lot has happened.
Time flies crazy, but it's been 4 years already.
Yeah. You're from, if I went back and listened to that and I heard some of the things we talked about, we maybe didn't get to explore. You're from Saguenay, Quebec, is that right?
Yes.
What's it like there? I've never been there.
It's nice. The nature is beautiful. There's a fjord, like with like mountains and the fleuve, and so it's nature is beautiful, and it's cold. It's very cold. It's like people say Montreal. People say, "Oh, it's so cold in Montreal," but like for me, Montreal feels like the South because it's like winter is longer there. So yeah. So
you are in a music room. You've got an upright piano. You got some drum equipment there. Is this outfitted to be a rehearsal space? Is this in your home? What kind of room are you in?
It's like my kind of We intended it. We just moved actually, so I still like kind of figuring it out. I won't show you the other side because it's messy, but it's kind of a personal studio. Like we could play drums if we wanted to. We might, but for now it's mostly like my practice space / office / couch, like lounge, and there's also going to be a cat park on the wall that we're working on. So
yeah, I've seen your videos of your it's close to my heart as well, because Vez and we once also had a white cat who is no longer alive, but yes, I think your cat is very cute.
Thank you. I can't help but sharing pictures of him all the time because I don't know. It's too cute.
Another thing about touring is that in addition to the Canadian stuff that is going to come later, sooner, you're going to go to play in Europe, which is something that you've done a few times now, right?
Yes, I'm really excited. We're leaving in a few weeks. And so we're going to Germany, France, Italy, and Poland. It's the first time that I'm going to go to Poland, so I'm really excited about that. I feel like, I don't know, from what I know, I feel like there's an interesting kind of art scene there, and like, so it's going to be really cool to share the music there.
It's a big project to go and do that. But again, it's one that you've had experience in. Is there anything you can share about how that comes together for a Canadian artist to go tour in Europe?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's honestly, sometimes I think about it and I'm like, yeah, how did this come together? I'm like, not so sure. But I have a few, I'm lucky to have a few like people who helped me put this together. I'm kind of in the middle of everything, and like, there's a few people that over the years, like the more you play, then the venues or whatever, so you can write back, and like people will like know you, so then it makes it easier. And yeah, I'm also lucky that in Poland it's this it's actually a music fan that happens to like that we met just like that because he liked the music like many years ago, and we just been like chit-chatting and talking about music, and then he was like, oh yeah, like and he's I think he works with some bands there, and he was like, oh yeah, send me your stuff, like I want to organize shows, and he's gonna like come with us on the tour too, so it's gonna be super exciting. So yeah, just sometimes like things just align, and then you're like, oh yeah, I guess like I'm going there and to play in Poland, and it's like I didn't, just happened this way. And of course, like it's also like a goal that I've always wanted to play in Europe. So I think like sometimes, I don't know, things just kind of happen, and also maybe like when you want something, you also sometimes make choices or do certain things that favorize the luck or whatever. But yeah, it's a mix of different associations and people that I'm lucky to have some help from. Definitely, yeah. And of course, we're lucky in Canada to have funding, which also helps, financially make these tours viable. Because it's pretty expensive to. The traveling part is so expensive, so it allows us to actually be paid for our work rather than paying the plane tickets with our work. So that's also something that we're lucky about. Yeah, for sure.
This project, I feel like it has a very different and new aesthetic than your previous one. Is there anything you want to talk about it visually and about how you conceived of that? Because I think it has a lot of striking visuals. You have videos, you have a kind of visual themes that run through it.
Yeah, I mean, I just really felt, well, first of all, it's really the addition of, it's a friend of mine, a new friend that I actually met while I was creating the music we happen to really connect artistically. And so I kind of gave him the mandate of conceptualizing of the visuals. And I actually, when I write, I have a lot of images in mind. So essentially it was just kind of me sharing kind of scenes and really ideas that really, for me, my own kind of imagination fed the music. And then kind of he took it from there and then kind of created images with it. So it was pretty special for me because it kind of ended up feeling like I was just in my own dream, but that someone else made real in life. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm not a visual artist, so sometimes you think about images, but it's quite abstract. But for an actual visual artist, like there's no such thing as abstraction. It's like it's very concrete. So that's like more their medium. So yeah, it was really fascinating to go through that process with him. Like he really like took it further. Like it almost like felt like he was like my creative process as a musician. He did the same thing, but as a visual artist, and it was interesting to kind of be in the middle of it. Like I see myself like, oh yeah, like it's like I'm just part of this kind of scenery, and it's yeah. And I guess that was also the concept of the album, because it's all about like, can you hear the birds, like the encounter with the other in all their forms. Like that's what I say in the liner notes. So it's the idea of really being in the middle of the action and kind of in relation with the world, like the same way, like, the public with the music, or there's like many layers to it. So that's why I wanted to be part of the visuals too, because that's also part of the concept of the album. Yeah.
Was it your first time being the star of a music video where you were not sitting at the piano or
Yes.
in a studio?
Yeah, definitely. I was like, honestly, I really went out of my comfort zone. Like, I was like, am I really doing this? Like, I was a bit like, it was a bit not nerve-wracking, because I really trust Sylvain, but definitely went out of my comfort zone. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, like, yeah. But it was a great, really fun experience that I would definitely repeat.
Sylvain is your creative director friend.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Sylvain
Nice.
Papillon-Gignac.
Now you have, of course, one long-standing member of your trio. You have Levi Dover on bass, and you have a new drummer on this project, Mark Nelson, who I think you've already been playing with for a few years, though.
Yes. Well, Mark happened to be, he did all the tours in Europe were with Mark, happened to be with Mark. So we kind of developed this kind of musical relationship on tour, like, but then he kind of was there for like, we toured a lot, like after the last album. So we really, yeah, it just arrived out of nowhere, like, but it was really great. Like, we really developed something interesting, and like, he's a very, I don't know, like Mark is like, I'm always in awe about like his level of focus when he plays. He's like so present and like very creative, and like it's like at any moment, like, like, I don't know, like, it's improvising, so at any moment can kind of if like stop playing, and I know he'll take care of it. Like he'll come up with something cool, and sometimes like very surprising that I wouldn't have, like it's, oh, this new thing, and then we go there, and it's, so it really brings a freshness, kind of interesting energy to the trio, I find, and kind of also aligns with the aesthetic of the music of the new album that I wanted to go to.
Can you talk about the place or just the time and space that you were in when you recorded this album?
Well, I mean, I was like, I guess I was back. We were back from tour, and then I was in my home, and I was like, I wanted to write a new album. It took me a few months to kind of find the inspiration. That's the hardest part for me. Is like, especially once you have many albums, it's like, what do I truly want to say with this new one? Because like as a professional musician, it's very easy to just kind of come up with something that will work, right? Like, but then it's like, is that something truly what I want to say? And like, is it really like I completely like kind of own this and I embody it, and there's like kind of an extra meaning to it. So anyways, so then I was seeking for inspiration. So I went to Mexico with my friends, with Sylvain, the district director. We just did this trip just for fun. We're in the jungle in Mexico, and so anyways, just kind of different experiences that led me to finally find that space in my home. And then I just kind of have to like shut down everything and read books and go outside and kind of seek out for daily experiences that are kind of out of the routine. I spend a lot of time like creating the circumstances that will give me that half an hour at 7 p.m. or whatever, that half an hour of like kind of creative flow, And then once it's gone, it's like, then I would just kind of focus on recreating that circumstances so it comes back. That's essentially how I do it. So it's a lot of work to get that flow to happen, let's say.
There's something that you have in at least one track that I don't recall hearing too much on previous projects of yours. And I'm thinking of Sœur Orchidée, which has unaccompanied piano for a lot of it, but I sense that some of the unaccompanied and maybe some of the part where the trio joins you is more free than a lot of your other things. Is this a newer element that you've added into this trio?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, that piece is true. I mean, it's not necessarily conscious, but I think the process. So this time I wrote the music. The musicians never saw the music. I taught the musicians everything by ear. So that was a decision that I made because I really wanted the music to feel kind of alive and more free, but not necessarily free improv, but just free in the general spirit that it is played with.
You did that for that tune or for all the tunes?
For the whole album, for the whole record.
Wow.
The music, I've never seen the paper. I wrote the music on paper for myself just to make sure, because it's like if you teach music by ear, you have to be very clear. Like I can't like change things, because once it's memorized, it's like, you don't like. So those papers exist, but no one has ever used them. Yeah. So I guess that's a big difference with that album, and that also forced me to really think about clarity and a certain simplicity, like like in the sense that I could still go very far with the creative process, but had to remember like this is gonna have to be taught to a musician purely by ear. So it has to stay somewhat, somewhat simple in the sense, like easy to hear and memorable, let's say. So and that definitely led to more freedom. Like the first time we tried the first tune, they didn't even know the music yet, right? But it was already, the playing was already so like happening, just because it's like they just have to feed the music with whatever they hear, even if they don't know it quite well. So I guess, yeah. So, and that really translated in the studio with pieces like Sœur Orchidée is one good example of a moment like that is completely free, essentially. Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this. It seems like one of the keys to the project artistically. When or how did you decide to approach it that way?
I had that idea just conceptually a while ago, and then it's funny because then I kind of left that idea because I was like, oh, like just trouble for no reason. And then I had come up with a few tunes. Like I had 4 new tunes I was ready to, and then I brought them and we did it like more conventionally. And then I was like, and then I threw everything out. I was like, no, like that's not where I wanted to go. And then Mark reminded me, oh yeah, you had that cool idea, like, you know, that like I was like, yeah, and you reminded me of my own idea, and I was like, yes, true, that was a good idea. And then that's where the flow started to happen. I went back to that idea and I tried it. I didn't know. I was like, maybe it's not, like, you kind of have to try to see if it's a good idea, like, you know, you don't. But then in the end, like the way that it directed the playing showed me that it was actually an idea that I wanted to pursue. Yeah.
Okay, so then if you go to the track Standing on a Cloud, so Levi plays unaccompanied bass for a big part of that track. So how does that fit into the picture? Do you just tell him, okay, come up with a bass intro or come up with a section where you're the leader here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So certain parts, so that's definitely like completely improvised. Like sometimes we tell each other, sometimes it just happens. Like definitely here on the album, like certain decisions are made specifically for the album. So okay, this tune, you're gonna start, like certain things are decided, but then live that might change. But everything else, I mean, if there were like a written bass line or stuff like that, then we would all sing it together. So we hear it and then but yeah.
This also fits with some of the other tracks where the arrangements are very kind of power chord heavy, where, you know, I'm thinking of the first 2 tracks, 2 Lives, 1 Heart, Speak Up and Smile, other ones too, I guess, but the arrangements have a lot of hits like that, not like shots where everything has to be super tight, but where you can orchestrate where things are going without having had to show them the charts if you're teaching it to them in this way, because you're like, okay, we're going to learn the music together by ear and not worry about trying to read the charts. But the tunes that I'm bringing, they have a lot of hits and they can kind of flow that way. And once they learn where those hits are, then everything else can kind of flow. That kind of matches what I'm getting from the tracks like that, where the more energetic ones that have those kind of power chord hits.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, for sure. It's like it I feel like it makes it become kind of these, like, their hits become like, rather than being something like we have to play because it's written there, it's like kind of these powerful anchors that we all share. Then we can start from there and kind of expand. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I want to ask about some of the titles that are in French and whether they're like idioms or expressions or something, and maybe if you could share a little bit about what they mean. So one of them was one of the singles that came out first, which is Les Tornades meurent toujours. What can you share about that track title? Tornadoes always ultimately die?
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, it was the idea of like, it was kind of, I guess, a soothing idea where, like, I mean, I've always been scared of tornadoes. Like, it was like a big phobia I had as a kid. So maybe I have a special link with tornado, but it's just the idea of this kind of mean thing that, like, you know, like that never stops and whatever. Like, it's kind of maybe a metaphor for, like, I don't know, any things in life, whatever, that like sometimes you want something to stop, but it doesn't, because whatever, life is life. So was the idea that kind of self-soothing, like, well, everything comes to an end. So eventually, you know, it's like eventually the tornado will die, and then it's going to be the sun again. Like, I mean, it sounds stupid just said like that, but that was kind of the idea. And like the tornado, so it's very intense, and the tune is very like kind of energetic and a bit mean and kind of this kind of powerful kind of. So I also thought that the image of the tornado, like kind of like this doing circles, was a good image for actually the actual tune also.
And then you have tomber comme un papillon. Is this an expression? This betrays my lack of fluency for sure if I don't know this is a common expression, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it has a specific meaning.
Not really. I mean, I felt falling like a butterfly. It was a bit like for me, it's gonna sound super dark, but it was a bit the idea of because a butterfly don't live for a long time. You know, like they become a butterfly, they live for a day, and they're very kind of you know, not noble, but they're very beautiful. And you know, if you fall like a butterfly, you fall slowly, let's say. So it was kind of this image that it was kind of illustrating death, or kind of going down inside oneself, kind of falling nicely in that. So I wasn't sure exactly, but kind of that idea, but with that image that's very kind of, because I mean the goal is not, I don't want to, like, I always try to find images that kind of have that meaning for me, but also that could have many different meanings, and that could have imagery, because that's, I think, what's interesting about instrumental music, that it's like there's this mystery that it doesn't have to be precisely like explained, and that it's we're creating beauty after all. So anyway, so that was kind of the idea. Yeah.
Can you talk about the piece Memoir? This is another one where Levi plays a lot of bass feature.
Yes, Memoir. That's I mean, while I was writing the music, my brother was going through a difficult phase. I was helping my brother, anyways, and Memoir is like it's a very specific kind of memory that I have with my brother when we were kids. So it's a bit of a kind of yeah. So it's not necessarily like happy memory, but it's a scene in Saguenay, like old times. So it's a bit nostalgic, I guess. And so that's Memoir. Yeah.
That's an example of what you were just talking about, where you can have your individual memory that you bring to the table, and then through the magic of instrumental music, you don't have to explain it for it to have an impact.
Well, exactly. And it's always also like kind of like the idea, because it's always this question as an artist, whatever, like, of course, for me, like, writing comes from emotion. Emotion is this something that's very personal. So for the final result to feel like emotive, I believe, for myself and for the listener, it had like that's an important aspect. But then you like have to kind of find ways to transcend that and make it more to make someone else dream, not just myself, you know, because at the end of the day, it's the share. Yeah.
And then on the title track, this is where it has perhaps more classical influences, because you have a classical background, right? I know that must inform your playing to different degrees, but just kind of the tonality of it, like it kind of being this minor piece, and it's in 5 too. So I mean, there's that, and you've had other pieces that are in 5, but this one I feel like I can hear a little bit of classical influence, maybe.
Yeah, maybe in the like kind of the type of harmony, like very kind of more direct, like voice leading, maybe. Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because the classical influence, I don't even try to have it. You know, it's very just there, kind of. So, but I do hear it. I'm like, yeah, like, you know, like these certain sounds, and that definitely are derived from doing a lot of back chorals or stuff like that. Yeah.
One of the last things that I just want to touch, because it happened in this intervening period of the last couple of years where you were at the Junos and you were nominated, and it's funny because of the timing of the album and like the eligibility window, because if we talked in the fall of 2022 around when it came out, you know, you were then, the awards where you were nominated was all the way out in the spring of 2024, because like you were into that year. So it's like a year and a half later after you've been touring the music or something, you get to go to the Junos and you're nominated. And what was that experience like for you?
It was, I mean, it was definitely a nice surprise. It was great. I mean, I was very grateful to be there alongside some like great musicians, and feels very, very celebratory. And then like Christine Jensen and ended up getting the Juno, and it was just great, like to be there, like hanging out with everyone after, like it felt very community like. It was also interesting for me to be there for the first time. And it was the timing was interesting too, because it was kind of, we were just kind of finishing the cycle of touring from the album too. So it really it was like this conclusion where okay, we go there and then come back, and then it's like, oh, okay, so now next chapter, you know. So it was a nice way of ending the Walls Made of Glass chapter, if I may say.
Yeah, there definitely is a camaraderie among all of you as opposed to a competition. I remember because I saw, when I was looking back through things, like I saw a photo of you hanging out there, and it's Christine Jensen, Jocelyn Gould, and you, all three nominated. Christine won. You're all hanging out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because it's a competition, but then it's so, I mean, music is so not about that it's like, yeah, and it's nice. It's nice to ensure also that these celebratory moments community happen to also, I think, everyone to remind themselves that's what it's about. Yeah.
Because you all know that you're not going anywhere. Like, especially for you, it's your fourth record going back to, 8 or 9 years now. Like, you're going to keep going and have many more years of doing it. And you all know that you're all going to be here. So like, you might as well enjoy it while you're all here.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's like, it's at the end of the day, it's one thing on your timeline, and like everything that we do, and try to appreciate it as much as we can. Yeah.
Is there anything else that's on your mind that you wanted to shout out or point toward here while we're talking before we wrap?
I mean, I think you addressed a lot of interesting questions. I mean, I just want to say thank you for having me. It was interesting for me to do these discussions, because there's always like different questions or that I've never heard, or that made me think differently, and kind of make me also know my process better. And so it's really cool to get to do that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. I hope all your touring goes fantastic. You have a good Jazz Fest season and beyond.
Yeah, thanks so much.